Hi everyone, and welcome once again to TFT Tarot for Today, Divine Dabblings with Oberon and Banshee. And this is me, Oberon, with my outlook on the emotional exchanges. And I've recently revamped the reading to make it a little bit more concise and maybe also specific to persons. So not currently doing the astrological reading for each sign of the zodiac, sun, moon, or rising. I'm actually doing a reading based on your status in a relationship or seeking a relationship or enjoying being single and not seeking. So it's basically single, seeking, or settled. Let's start off with a reading from the Universal Love Oracle by Tony Carmine Salerno. I like using this, and I like a number of Tony's works. So kind of setting the mood here a little bit with the tone and affirmation of sorts. That's forgiveness. Kuan Yin, the goddess of compassion and mercy, walks with a fiery dragon at her feet, yet she holds no fear. Kuan Yin's energy constantly radiates love, compassion, and mercy to all living things. These energies have tamed the dragon that now follows her with devotion. Kuan Yin has shown up in your reading today to offer you her assistance. A situation in your life is in need of healing. The way to resolve this issue is through forgiveness. Show compassion and mercy towards all involved. Know that in forgiving, you are not necessarily condoning another's action. Forgiveness simply means that you are prepared to release yourself from an ongoing negative attachment. Kuan Yin bestows her blessings. And I know that's right. And on a personal level, Kuan Yin has been the focus of a bit of our ritual work with our circle previously, to the point that we were actually compelled to do some personal public ritual work with Kuan Yin. We may do so again in the future, but it is a universal message to believe that sometimes we need to forgive in order to really move on. And we're not saying that we forget or that we appreciated what they did. We're doing this for ourselves. There's no more to it than that. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, this reading is for the relationship statuses of single, not interested in seeking, seeking, whether in a relationship already, or settled, happy where they are in a relationship. Now, going back to the single, these cards talk about emotional involvements. So for a single person, their emotional involvement, the thing they desire, if they're not interested in romance or at this time, could be something, rather unique to them. So keep that in mind as I'm doing this. All right, so this revolves around several questions. And our first question is, how can I be better at communicating my feelings, i.e., what I want or what I'm interested in, to possible persons of interest or persons who might share in some other way? All right, so for singles, it's the reverse of the meathead. It's the Knight of Swords. It's called the Knight of Mirrors here. So you would be better at communicating your feelings by maybe not rushing into things. That's the Knight of Swords upright. They tend to just rush into something like a meathead, and maybe they ruin it. So you would be better at waiting a little while and thinking about what the effects are of your actions, or trying to communicate with somebody that you're interested in knowing how their approaches are affecting you. And of course, this is in relationship singles to something that maybe you have a desire about. It may not be a human relationship, but maybe you have to not exactly express fervency or urgency in your approach towards the situation. All right, so seeking, whether in a relationship or not, and it's the reverse Three of Wands. And so you would be better at communicating your feelings by realizing maybe there are opportunities you're just not going to catch. And maybe you need to acknowledge that you're not always interested in taking advantage of any opportunity that just seems to show up. Communicating that you're willing to let something come to you. Now, if you're settled, how are you better at communicating your feelings? And we have the reverse cards here a lot, but it is the Fool reversed, the contestant, it says. And so you could be better at communicating your feelings by maybe expressing the idea that not everything is lucky, and that in some ways you rely upon instinct, but you're willing to listen to others' instinct or others' advice, and you're not always willing to stick yourself out there without having some awareness here. And so you need to be able to communicate that. All right, we are going to move on to question 2. So in terms of desires and things that we want, we are interested in emotionally in some way, is what you seek available? Is what you seek something that you have a legitimate right to be thinking about seeking? So for the singles who may be seeking, something not really a human relationship, it's the Four of Cups. And this may say that there's a waiting game here, that you may have to really find out for yourself through contemplation whether there is an opportunity for you here, that it may not exactly look that way now, but it could be something that could develop. And so maybe you just sort of need to have that awareness there. You're not going to push it along. You're not going to rush. If what you seek is not available right now, maybe you just sort of want to linger around and see what happens. Okay, so you're seeking a relationship or another relationship, and it's the Ten of Wands. Burdens, shoulder to cry on. And I think this strongly implies that perhaps the relationship or situation you are looking for, seekers, may cause more hardships or burdens, and maybe it's not good for you to seek it at this time, or that one, certainly. Now, what about those settled? And it's the Page of Cups, but reversed. And this could be saying that maybe you need to have a little bit more of an instinctual idea about what you're looking for here. If you're trying to take a relationship into a new or a higher or whatever level, maybe there's an anti-intuitive feel here. So maybe if what you seek, it might have to happen on its own terms in a way. That's what I think the Page of Cups is saying, is like maybe this is not something you can be a protagonist in. You may have to let it kind of move itself along. All right. So then question 3, how can I, a single person, a seeking relationship person, For a settled in relationship person, how can I set healthy boundaries? So in other words, you don't look like you're a stalker of some sort, I guess. And if you notice, most of these questions were more about you as an internal person rather than those external things like who's coming towards me. Okay, so single person, how do you set the healthy boundaries? By making good choices. It's the lovers upright. And maybe you set good boundaries by really thinking about the better side of things, the more virtuous side of things, the things that are more pleasant or more on the up and up, not being secretive or devious about whatever it is you're trying, to get closer to. And of course, for single, it's not necessarily a human relationship in terms of love. It could be a friendship kind of thing. So this could apply to that. What about those seeking a relationship? It's the reversed King of Wands. Well, you may have your work cut out for you. I think this card could be saying is to scale back, trying to use your confidence or your persona, your charisma to set the boundaries that maybe you need to sort of dial that back a little bit and let other people be willing to see your boundaries and maybe match, synchronize. Settled in a relationship. How do you set a healthier boundary? And it's the reversed Eight of Wands. And maybe this is saying to not be so fixated, not be so focused on particular targets within your relationship. If you're trying to pull along the other into a goal that maybe they really won't appreciate, or maybe they'll say it's more about you. Maybe you need to lose some of that focus, and maybe you need to think about what it is that is pleasing for the entirety of your relationship. Just going to say that. Alrighty, so that was our main questions, and now I would like to ask one final question for the collective, for all singles seeking or settled. And the question is, how do each of us, either solely or in community of whatever sort, how do we express universal and unconditional love for everyone? How do we show kindness or sincerity in our relationships? One card for everyone. And it's the Emperor reversed. It says the host, but the Emperor reversed maybe suggests that we need to loosen some sense of having a final authority over things, that maybe we have to be willing to take in those other aspects of the Emperor who listens to other people and maybe tries to find a consensus between all interested parties. Maybe we express universal love by trying to not be in charge of everything and let other people have some of that glory or some of that authority for themselves. All right, everybody. So that was the outlook on the emotional exchanges for this week. I hope you got something out of it. If not, please let me know what I can do better. Leave us a note here on the video or write us at tfttarotfortoday@gmail.com. I'd like to remind everybody that tomorrow the happy hour returns at its normal time of 10 a.m. in the morning. Also, later today, don't forget to watch the Syncing with the Seasons, Banshee's special Syncing with the Seasons as she welcomes spring in her own inevitable or indomitable way. Watch that. That's later today. Also, I will be back with Banshee as the sun moves into Aries. Rah-rah, she's up for that. And we're doing another monthly modality message. So those are later today. I don't believe I have them scheduled at the time of this reading. And of course, on Sunday, Banshee's Material Matters at its normal time of 10 a.m. And then we are live on our live stream for Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4 p.m. You can ask any question. We will do our best to answer it. Get there early. We get really filled. And then, of course, it's another week starting off all over again. So thanks, everybody, for supporting us. TFT, Tarot for Today. We will see you soon. Bye-bye.